And boom, and we're live. Perfect. And well, welcome to another edition of Life is People. And well, tonight, man, we've got Rich Sandford, aka Mordred. And for those people who watched the previous episode when we were talking to Laura from the South Devon Players, this was the main character in the film we spent a lot of that podcast talking about. So before we go any further, how you doing tonight, brother?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Thank you very much.
That's cool, man. Well, like I say, I mean, I've been fascinated to sort of really get to sort of speak to you ever since I kind of came across Mordred the film and stuff. So well, the first sort of question I really want to ask you is because I've already got some answers to you about Mordred the character and stuff like that. I think the one I really sort of fascinated to ask you first is how did this all get to where you are now? I mean, here you are playing Mordred in a film. I mean, you've done some. I know you've done some stuff in the Miz and stuff with South Devon Players. But how did this all start with you? I mean, what were the first step along this path to leading to you to where you are now, my brother?
Well, Laura put out a casting for like extras for Les Mis. I thought, why not? I've got spare time. Started off with very small role, got added for like lines and stuff, and it's gradually built since then.
So you, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Were you like this? If I'd gone back to see you as a maybe a 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid, were you always were you that kid that was always running around with like swords and stuff like that and making out? I mean, was this a very early thing for you, or was it something developed later on in your?
It's just something I've been interested in. Something since I was a kid. Everyone's always wanted to do stuff like that. Like, I'm going to grow up to be a pirate or something like that. It's always it's good.
So I mean, that's what I'm saying. So you kind of like came into it, through the sort of South Devon Players and stuff like this. So where you. It's one of the things I asked sort of Laura about. I'm fascinated about where you are as because you're obviously from that part of the if you're from Devon and that born and bred that part of the world. You know what I mean? Do you think that's the actual place where you are has a lot of influence on your progression to where you are in what you're doing, with your acting career like? Because I say this because for people not aware that Cornwall's a very independent part of the world. I mean, I know you have your own sort of there's ideas of making that whole part of the world almost separate from England itself. So do you think that's all played into you as a influenced you as a person where you actually where you're actually based as do you think that definitely does it influence your character in Mordred and just your general sort of philosophy on things in life?
Well, I mean, being in Devon, you get to really enjoy being part of the town, and not many people actually know a lot about Devon. So it's always good to do stuff like this to kind of make people aware that we do exist down here. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Because as that, like you said, that strange part of the UK for people, especially who are not aware of the UK, it's like you said, it's very kind of isolated and cut off. So it gives you your own sort of characteristics and how you sort of see life and the world and stuff. And I mean, one of the things I found sort of fascinating about obviously being based in the whole of your South Devon Players and the film are based. Did you know much about you as a person? Did you know much about Mordred as a person just through general, growing up in Devon? I mean, did you know much about that as a when generally?
Well, with Mordred, I've only ever known about the normal classic tales of King Arthur, and anything you hear about always seems to have Mordred being the evil guy. But with South Devon Players, they kind of get me really interested in history, so I looked up a lot of the stuff, and he really isn't as bad as he's made out to be.
So, I mean, why do you think he's been given the projection that he obviously has? I mean, do you think that's just lazy writing? Do you think that's just the way that it was deemed through history? I mean, why do you think he's got that betrayal as what he has?
Don't know what
Right,
happened
rich
there.
man. Sorry,
Yeah,
man.
uh,
Don't worry about.
as you were saying, I think Mordred's been played as the bad guy because everybody likes a story of good versus evil. And of course, there has to be someone to go against the King Arthur, the big hero. So I guess they kind of needed someone like Mordred to be the bad guy.
So you're in this very early processes of filming this as a film. I mean, and I saw over the last sort of week or so you'd been actually sort of starting to read the script and stuff like this. Now in this process, when you're in the process of actually learning the script and forming that, do you get to, as a character, add any sort of lines to that? Do you mean, is there any insights that you can add, or is it very much this is the lines, you have to sort of go with the lines? I mean, how does that work?
Well, actually, it's quite easy. I mean, if we have any ideas, we just run that through Laura, and she's usually quite open to little extra bits, like you add an extra couple of words just to make it seem more sense. So it's always good, really good that she lets us have as much input as she has.
The reason dig to is, like, at that point, obviously you mentioned that he's coming across in your dreams and stuff, so that's what I'm saying. Do you have any insights from the character that comes into your dream that then you can put out into and say, wow, do you know, last night I had this really strange insight onto Mordred as a character, how I think he would play that scene? And I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is it quite a live, I mean, you mentioned that Laura's very open to it. I mean, does that ever happen to you, that some of the stuff that comes to you in dreams or through that dream process that ever gets pushed into how you see the character and you form the character?
Yeah. I mean, there's been plenty of times I've had dreams that's been like, well, I've done this so far that way. Hey, maybe I can broach that idea to Laura and see if she's up for it. And usually, when I come up with little ideas like that, she's very, very positive about stuff.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I, immediately I saw the very first trailer for Mordred, immediately, and I just thought you got that, you have a face and a characteristic about you that almost like, wow, you were from that time. And I don't know if it's just something, whether it's something you've been told many times before and stuff like that, but you have a very expressionate face. And I say this from someone who has spent many years amongst actors and stuff like that, and I know many actors would spend hours in makeup and stuff trying to get themselves to this expression, but you must have this gift of having a very expressionate face. I mean, is that something that has been mentioned to you before, and is that something in that idea? Or, for instance, I mean, if you were playing a different character, would your whole facial characteristics change? I mean, for instance, would you start cutting your hair, or do you very much, this is who I am, and that the method process, which is basically becoming the character? So is a lot of your look at the moment just based around Mordred, or is that something that's always been around? And
Well, it's definitely been influenced by Mordred. And I mean, I used to love having the long hair, and when I heard about this role, I was like, oh, it involves getting long hair, so I grew my long hair. And I was like, maybe a beard, it's something to add to the authenticity, because you see all these past things, and they do all tend to be like facial hair and all that. And so I decided, oh, I'll add a goatee to it, and yeah, it's really, really helped. Makes it look more authentic.
yeah, I mean, personally, that's what I'm saying. I mean, from a an artist point of view, you have the most powerful eyes. I mean, your eyes are you have very, very piercing eyes, and that's what I'm saying. I wonder if that's something that maybe that you're. That's what I'm trying to get to is that comes across more in the film genre than it maybe does in the acting genre, and so I'm saying. So was that, what I'm trying to get to, is it something that you thought maybe that your career will progress more into film or more into acting on stage?
Um, yeah, I mean, my look, and I've used to do modeling, as you know, so we had to work on expressions, and I've always been told I look kind of like a villain, the classic villain look. So it's always good to like look at yourself and think, maybe if I make this expression, see what that looks like, and it's always worked for me.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, you mentioned when one of the questions again from when I asked Laura to ask you, I asked you about how you found working on stage compared to working in, in film, and you said there was a difference. Basically, saying how on stage you have a few people there, but on a film process it's fewer. So, I mean, which of the two do you actually prefer? I mean, you've done both now. I mean, are you preferring what, going out into live? I mean, is it like a musician? Because I know a lot of musicians I speak to, they love going into a studio and recording something, and the process of that is great, but they really prefer going out and playing in front of a stage, in front of a live audience. So I was wondering, is it the same with you from an acting point of view?
I honestly, I can say I'm just an acting addict. Whether it's stage or film, I love it. It just brings out that little spark in me. I just love it either way. As long as I'm entertaining people, I'm just happy as Larry. I love it.
And see, in there lies the difference between maybe you and a great many people, because for someone like myself, I mean, to stepping out on a stage is one of the most terrifying things possible. I mean, having that going out. So what you just said there very nonchalantly and said, oh, I just like going out. And that's something that's to someone like people like me is an immense. Almost like one of our greatest hurdles we'd have to jump across about putting ourselves on stage. So, is that, like I was trying to say, is that something you've always had, or is that something you've had to overcome?
It's definitely something that I've had to overcome. I used to be really very shy. And then after doing my first stage show, it was like, wow, I love this feeling. Yeah, before you go on, you're nervous as hell because you know there's going to be loads of people staring at you. But once you're on that stage or wherever, just performing, it's kind of like they are there, but you don't really pay too much attention because you're too lost in the moment.
I mean, did you think there's a difference between maybe you have that essence of a bit of an anonymity, because you've got the character you're playing behind? You're not going up there and being maybe a stand-up comedian. You're actually sort of behind a character. So I suppose that in some ways that maybe give you just a bit more freedom to sort of hide behind that. Go on, sorry.
It definitely does help being a character because you don't have to worry about people liking you as a person. You have to work on whether they're going to like you as the character. It's always great because you could be like, I'm not here. This isn't me. This is the character. The character doesn't care whether they like me or not.
Mm-hmm. So is this a skill that is something that can be taught, or is it something that, I mean, for someone like, who's never done any kind of, I said before, I mean, I spent plenty of time around lofty buildings with many sort of like those studious actors, and they would spend hours, studying all these theories. And I often thought, well, is this a bit like me being a musician or an artist, that you can be taught a lot, but actually a lot of it's just going out and doing it, and the actual day-to-day process of actually hours put on this, the stage. Is it? So if someone's going to start off now, wanting to go down the path, I mean, what would be your recommendation to them, for how to sort of go down? Would you recommend going through the intellectual route and through colleges and universities, or just going out there and jumping straight in and seeing how, just testing your skills?
Yeah, I just got knocked off for a second there. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're talking about. It is definitely different. It's just, I love acting. And lots of people have different ways of going about it. There's the ones who want to look through the books. There's the people who just want to get out there and do it. I want to learn as much about every part of acting, even behind the scenes, as I can. So
is that the part of the process that maybe people don't understand? Because I think, a lot of people have this concept, just generally, that it's all very kind of just easy. You just have to learn the lines, and then, but like what you're trying to sort of, taking from what you're sort of saying is that there is actually a lot of hard work and graft that is not maybe a lot of the people understand that goes on, or the hours that people put in. They just see the show at the end. They don't realize how much time and effort is put on. I mean, for instance, how much time wise do you think you're going to will be taken in the actual, for you personally, in between now and when Mordred gets released? I mean, how much time will that take out of you?
It'll take our fair amount of time, because we're also trying to do anything we can to raise money. So as much, I really want this to happen, not just for me, for the other actors, for the directors and everything. So I'm going to be helping out any way I possibly can. So it'll take a fair amount of my time, but I love it. I just want to make this happen because it's going to be amazing.
And what is it? But from your perspective, why is it? I mean, everyone I've spoken to around this project is really excited by it. It seems to really firing a lot of people, and it has me as well. I've been very inspired by it. But from you personally, why is it something you think is really needed to be told? What particularly about this whole the angle of Mordred is so firing you up so much that you really want to get it out to the world? How can you how would you say that to people listening, that this is why you must go and watch this film?
I guess, putting it plainly, I want to get this out because there's always two sides to a story. There is always two sides to a story, and if you've been told the same thing over and over and over, only to be told something completely different, it changes the way people think. And it really is good to see that people actually thinking, was I told the wrong thing the whole time, or was just my perspective on it different back then?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think this is, I think that's what I really find inspiring about them, the more the whole concept you're taking, because it's like a lot of general momentum about everything and where we are I think just generally at the moment in society at the moment, where a lot of people are starting to understand that a lot of stuff they've been told is just basically just a pile of how can I say it politely? It's a pile of shit. They've been fed a lot of crap, and I think it's really good, and I'm that's why I really do want to fly the flags of projects like what you do, because it's always the same thing. It's always the creative people in the arts who end up flying the flag of truth and telling the real sort of story of things, because the politicians and the media ain't going to tell us this story. It's down to people like yourself to do it, and that's I think where we are in society, and I think you will get a lot of, and that's why I'm trying to say I will fly the flag as much as I can for the South Devon Players to get as much momentum behind this as possible, because I think there's a real, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think there's a real hunger in this world at the moment for truth and for retelling of stories that haven't been told before, and examining them from a non-ideological perspective. I don't know how you feel about that.
I totally agree. We're definitely in this day and age fed basically a load of lies. We get told one thing only to find out afterwards that it's all been a lie. And people want the truth these days, but it's very hard to get that out there. Some people have to actually work really hard just to get the truth out.
Yep. But that's, I mean, I suppose in some ways, my friend, that's no different throughout time and history. I mean, it's, you go back to all the playwrights, all the artists, they've always just been doing this against the grain of society. I don't know. I just personally just think we're at this point, because I think of these connections and the ability like we have now to connect and talk, and that's on a worldwide scale. This has never been sort of seen before, and that's why I'm interested about the days we live in, because I think we have the opportunity to, instead of like just having a little story about Mordred being just for a few people down in Devon, we have the opportunity now to have this potentially go worldwide, and that's a huge step forward for people who are like yourself, who are trying to do small stories and with, like you said, with very little budget, because this is one of the things we all face. We have great stories to tell but very little budget, and so again, I mean, this is something else I would, someone from from your perspective, how can people go out there and how can they get involved and how can they really support what you're doing and whole of South Devon Players are doing? Because I know you mentioned about how you're going to be putting a lot of time in how to raise funds. So how can people who maybe listen to this or hear through it, how can they get involved and how can they help?
There's a South Devon Players website. I'm sure she's told you all about that.
Hmm.
You can go through that. Maybe donate a bit of money. We have a Redbubble site which selling off a load of merchandise already, which will feature lots of the cast with on things. Any way possible, donating maybe even a quid, even donating a quid, it all adds up. More and more, it all adds up. And when you think about it, yeah, I donate a quid. That's nothing special. That's helping us make something special. Means you are actually part of that special thing.
Exactly, and this is one of the things that I don't think can be stressed enough, and I think it's really crucial to get across is that it's any way we can get money to you directly where it's not going through middlemen, because I personally I want to help out and I want to know that the money I personally may give to you is going to get to you and it's not going to get swallowed up down the chain. And so that's what I'm saying, this is what's really inspired about the way you're doing it, that you can actually be personally involved in the project, so you're not just feeling like you're just giving money and it's just like you're nothing part of it. And that's a very inspiring element. So I think that's I think, like you quite rightly said, Richard, that's something that really needs to be said to people, that they can be involved in this. And as I can and testify to, man, you can, people out there can reach out to people like yourselves and to Laura and get involved, because you're very open, welcoming people. And I think it's one of the great things that maybe where we, because of these tools we have of being able to connect people, we can hopefully connect some of the people like yourself to normal people, and not, I don't mean in the sense of normal, but the people who aren't involved in your world, and
Yeah.
hopefully that can forge some of these things and make everybody feel they're part of it, because that's what we are. We're all part of the same. If we look at it, we're all on the rock spinning in space, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. It's always good to have something everyone can be involved in, if maybe just a little small bit, but that involvement means more to us than somebody's just sitting at home complaining that they can't do anything with their life. Yeah, just donate something, help out, whatever. Just a little bit of help does actually go a long way in this world.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, Rich. And I think I think that I was saying this to Laura when she was on the conversation. I think the every step we're taking along the world of as it's happening with the internet, especially with the internet part, Mark II that's coming very soon. The barriers between people like what you're doing and us artists and the resources out there are just becoming shrinking day by day. And I really do. I don't know how you see it, and maybe I look at it and think we're living in the greatest of days, and I really do sort of think we're about to enter a whole new era, and we're going from an era of information into an era of the creative, that's why I'm fascinated. And I look back and think, wow, it's going to be. You're going to listen through. We're going to live through some strange days in the next sort of 20, 30 years time. I don't know how you feel about it, because you obviously you're there on the acting perspective. I mean, how do you feel about what's going on with the general exponential rise of technology, and how do you think that's going to shape your world? I mean, do you think your world's going to become more into doing virtual, VR stuff, doing projects in virtual worlds and having films where instead of just sitting at a screen, we're actually just sitting there and we can be involved from any angle and experience? I mean, how do you feel that this is going to shape your acting profession in the next sort of 10, 15 years, or don't you think it's going to shape it at all? I mean, I'm interested in your perspective.
Yeah, sorry, I lost the connection for a minute there. I was going to say, there things are so changing with technology. Entertainment and that can be so much more personal. I mean, if we do VR stuff, that's going to be me in someone's front room, basically right in front of them, doing the acting, making it something else that I would need to learn to work with, and it would be a big help. I mean, who knows what will happen? I mean, we could be having drones just out on the street and being like, we can act to a drone live to somebody on the other side of the world. It might make their day a bit better. You never know what's going to come.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated to see where. I mean, you mentioned the drone one. I mean, I think it's fascinating. I think that's going to be very, especially in the next sort of 4 or 5 years, where we could have almost like you said there, where you could do, for instance, you're filming Mordred and you're out there doing the live scenes out in the the wilds of Devon, and you can almost have it as a live experience. So it's almost mixing live theatre with film all in the same experience. So I'm watching a live performance in my own room, but I can control the drone. Like you said, we're it's gonna. I think it's going to be momentum. I think we're going to look back in 10 years' time, and it's going to seem like it's such a simple days we lived in now, where all we've got to deal with is just a straight film and stage. I don't know. I just think we're going down some very strange rabbit holes as a species at the moment.
Yeah, it is definitely. Technology just keeps going further and further, and you never know where things are going to turn out. It's very exciting, though.
Well, it is. I mean, do you know what? I mean, I think I'm always fascinated. Is whenever you hear a lot of creative people, or whether they're writers or filmmakers, and they always have this almost very negative view or very optimistic utopian view of the future. But you think like Star Trek and stuff. I'm not a big Star Trek fan by any measure, but they still thought the future was going to be walkie-talkies. They didn't see smartphones coming, did they? And that's what I think is hilarious. That some of the things that all these people write and all these like Terminator 2 and the Rise of Machines, and it's always a negative perspective, and none of them ever see like cell phones coming up. And actually, what happens is more people connect, and more barriers are broken, and more unity amongst human beings happens bit by bit. You don't see that portrayed in all the films, do you?
Not really. No, it's usually like, oh, technology. Oh, suddenly there's a robot going to kick your ass. But apparently that's not bad. That's a bad thing when you could have a computer that would cure cancer or something. They never
No,
really look at the positives, can they?
no, and that's one of the things. Like I say, I mean, one of the things that I think is completely. And I say it year after year. I mean, every year we get some self-righteous, up his own, pomposity guy standing out there and getting the Nobel Peace Prize year after year. And I mean, even Obama won it. I mean, this is ridiculous. But the point I'm making, ever since the internet's come along, every year it should just be internet. That should win it every year, because that's what's causing more peace in this world. Is this disconnection, and and that's what that. But he's never even mentioned. It's like, oh well, it's some noble human. It's like, well, no. What's really happening is more and more people are getting to know each other. Goes back to what you were saying earlier on. They're learning some truths because they're getting to speak to each other. Some of the bullshit of the world is just falling around them, and people are understanding of like, well, actually, 99% of us think mostly the same things about most things. All we ever want to do is not harm each other and just get on with life. I mean, and that's and that's only come around because of the internet. Because before that, we're all tied to countries, we're all tied to regions, we're tied to this and tied to that, which is this whole thing about dislike the other person. And it's been the internet, and it never gets any, like you were saying, it's never seen as anything positive. It's always seen as a negative. But in actual essence, it is a positive. It's led us to where we are now, and that's a greater world we live in. I mean, I don't think any of us will want to go back to what it was like in the 80s or 70s. None of us.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays you can probably have a talk to somebody on the other side of the world who will tell you what their life is like when you've been told over here, well, they're just
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, as I was saying before I got cut off, yeah, you could talk to someone the other side of the world, someone you've probably been told most of your life, yeah, they are trouble. They're not. They're all they're looking for is to cause trouble. When really they're just normal person like you, wanting to go to the shop, buy themselves a sweets in peace, and come home and be like, yeah. But for some reason, there's a medium of judging, like telling you who you should hate for whatever reason, but you can't find that truth out until you look for yourself.
No, exactly, and it's always been. That's what I found absolutely fascinating. We were speaking before we went live on this podcast, and chatting through away, and I've always found it fascinating that all the people that were considered the outsiders in my generation are now the people that are building the new free world. And I just think it goes back to what you just said there, Rich. It's all about the where you do get this connection is I've always found is in the arts. You find it in music venues, you find it in special when you go to a gig or you go to a special, like you say, a theatre, or you just when people connect on that level and they're having just that one moment, it tends to shape everything. And it's like you would know and I would know. We're not funded. I mean, people think that people in the arts are all we all drive like golden bicycles. We're not. We're all
Yeah, right.
we're all starving artists, and that's the thing. But
Yeah.
if we could imagine a world, that's what I always think. I mean, it's not imagining a world. It's a process of trying to build a world where people like us are just give them the resources and just give them, so we don't have to sort of like go through the signing on and getting the dole checks and having to think, oh, I've got to go and work in Burger King. We don't want to do that. We just want to express ourselves, and we're not. And the thing is, we know by expressing ourselves, all we're going to do is make the world a better place, because the more people that are doing what we're doing, there's less people feeding the war machine.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, we're in the age where people don't want to listen to a politician and tell them that the world's going to be a better place when they take over. We want to listen to somebody who's a musician telling us to party and to keep on showing peace. We
Hmm.
don't give a rat's ass about some guy in the street. We want to listen to someone sing to us about the truth. Something that really gets us right there, not just someone trying to tell us how we should be living our lives. We want to live our lives how we want to live it. It's great.
Exactly. I mean, it's one of the things that when I asked you that question, you played on the clip. I asked you about what do you think Mordred as a character would think of 2016, and you immediately went to, yeah, it'd probably be killing all the politicians. And I think this is what I'm trying to say. Is that I don't think it's anything. I don't think anything has changed over time. I just hope that as we progress, that maybe we can be the last generation where we do have politicians. I hope that hopefully. I mean, so when you sort of you briefly, sort of said how you felt Mordred would feel in 2016. I mean, how do you sort of feel? I mean, other than killing all the politicians, I mean, how do you think he would just that kind of personality would fare if you could put him in a suit and or what? I'm saying, do you think he'd be wearing a suit? I mean, what do you think he'd be doing? That character of Mordred, if he was around now.
He would be an activist. Basically, he would be the activist on the street saying, I'm not going to sit here and listen to you tell all these lies when we know for a fact that you are a liar. You are telling us something that has been proven over time to be a lie. And you keep feeding us the same lie and expecting us to sit here and just take it. He would probably be the activist saying, look, why are we going to sit here and take this and take this and take this over and over? We need to change stuff for the future, for our youth, so they can't be like, well, this is just the way life is. No, life shouldn't be this way. It should be getting better and better for the next generations.
So, I mean, that just begs the question to from me as an artist to you as an actor, my friend. Why is this? Why do people accept it? I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I'm asking you as an actor, and why when we look out at the world out there, why are people just happy just to almost live in that, if we're going to call it the Matrix world, or that world where they just don't want to wake up, and it's just they're just happy just carrying on, won't they? And they think, oh, I know, every 4 years I'll just vote for the red team or the blue team. Why? I mean, I don't know. I'm fascinated. I spend my whole life, and that drives me as a human being. I'm asking you as an actor, man, what do you think what do you think it is that those people, even though we live in this world where you just quite right described, and we've just been talking about, where we have the ability to connect with people of the world, we have more truth at our hands. We have, I mean, everybody walking around with a cell phone has more knowledge in their hands than Clinton, but yet we still have these people that, oh, I know what I'll do, I'll vote for the next 4 years, and that will be, so I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on all this, from your perspective?
My perspective is, I think people are happy to just keep going about things as it is because we've been downtrodden for so many years. They are actually just waiting for someone to make them believe that things can actually be different. They're waiting for someone to come along and make them believe. I mean, I'm not really into politics or politicians, but I'm kind of liking this Jeremy Corbyn. He seems on the surface to be a decent guy who wants to make a change, and people are starting to get on that. We need somebody to make people believe there can be a change.
Well, I personally think that the greatest paradigm shift that we're going to have to go through as a species, and is basically almost beyond what you just said then. I think we've got to stop going to get people going, instead of like trying to make them follow leaders, and I make them understand they are, you are the brains of the central nervous system. You want something, do it yourself. Don't rely on some guy that, whatever, how many miles away. We don't need them. That's the real power we have, is we have the ability to walk away and start again. We don't need these people at all. And I think that's to me, the real paradigm shift is when we're going to move from one to the other.
Yeah, I mean, when are we actually going to make a change rather than wish for a change? When are we actually going to start making that change and be like, we've been downtrodden all these years, but there's more of us. We can make the change. We can make a difference. And people just don't believe it because we've been downtrodden. So we are been made to feel like we're worthless, like we're just one person. But that one person with about all these one people can make that difference. All they need is something to believe in.
You're absolutely right, my friend. I mean, it's no accident that, I mean, as you can see on the thing, N99. That's exactly that. Because I've often thought this, but with everything, I've often thought, do you know what I mean? Why there's 60 million of us, there's 300 of them in a building. Why don't we just swarm the thing, and just don't cause any violence, don't destroy anything, but just surround them. And eventually they can't get anything in and anything out, and they're going to have to. But this is what I'm trying to say, is that, like you said, it's that real wake up moments when we start to realize, oh wow, I can change. I mean, we've been, like you said, we've had years of breeding and saying that, oh, well, you as an individual can't make any difference. It's all about, and it's like, no, we can all make a difference, because the greatest difference we can have is basically, and I think this is where we are. I think this is where we progress so much as a country and as a people, and not only as a country, I mean, as a species, has been, we now all basically generally get to understand that all human beings are all human beings. You know what I mean? I can witness this. We're far less a racist country than we were when I grew up. But I'm not saying by any imagination racism has disappeared. That's the trouble with our world, is that everything's become hidden away, and like you said, and that's what leads to this brewing tension that's going on. I mean, a perfect example of this is what's going on in America. All you're seeing with Bernie Sanders and Trump is that basically they're just the people are just sick and tired of politicians telling them one thing. That's why they've gone to the two extremes. And I just think it's just going on everywhere at the moment. I think you're absolutely right, Rich. I think everywhere, all around the world at the moment, people are just going, nah. And I think what we need to get that shift into people is like, you can do. We can all do it. We don't need these people. We can just all, from the bottom upwards. It's like you said with Mordred, man. He'd be an activist in the sense of, look, you can all do it. You don't need to sort of have some guy charging up down the front. Like, you don't need a King Arthur in his white shiny horse. You can do it yourself.
Exactly, exactly. I totally agree with you on that.
Man, we went down a rabbit hole there, man. Man, one of the things I kind of sort of do my sort of like backup research on you and stuff, and I know you've mentioned a few times you recently did an interview with in New York Elite magazine and stuff, and you mentioned the Hunger Games film, fan film. Now I kind of did a search last night on YouTube, and I was trying to find it. Now, again, I couldn't really find much about it. There was a Hunger Games American one and stuff like that. And so the question I want to get out of you is, where can people go and watch that? Is it possible to go and watch it? And tell us about that experience and how you sort of you entered that into that whole experience. Because you're obviously very proud of it, because you mentioned it was one of your proudest roles you've done so far.
Start again. What were you saying?
Sorry, man. I was mentioning about you mentioned you've done your Hunger Games fan film.
Yeah.
And I was just saying, I tried to search for it high and low last night, and I couldn't find it on YouTube. And so I was basically like, two questions really: where can people go out and find it? And B, tell us about how you came into that experience, because you did mention that it was one of your most sort of proudest experiences as an acting role. So how did you sort of get into that? And again, B, where can people go and find it? Because I was searching and I couldn't sort of find it anywhere. Maybe I'm not searching hard enough, but where can people find it?
It should be on the South Devon Players YouTube channel. They may have it on the website somewhere. The link to their YouTube. It should be under there. But yeah, it's definitely one of my proudest things, because yeah, it's a bit of fun, but that's a bit of fun from everyone showing their bit of passion. When people are actually enjoying themselves, they make something really special.
So how did that all come together? Was that through South Devon Players that all came together? Is that?
Yeah, it's just a random idea. It was like, well, some of us are big Hunger Games fans. Why not do a Hunger Games fan film? And then this idea started from there. It started from just why don't we do our own Hunger Games? Because I know a few times we've gone to see the film. Me and a few of us was like, why don't we do something fun, like go in the park before and do our own Hunger Games? Just big kids. I mean, come on, we may be adults. Doesn't mean we have to be boring. We might as well enjoy life.
So it was all sort of shot round Devon and stuff. I mean, did you get permission, or did you just do it completely guerrilla style?
No, we had some permission. And I mean, we had the permission of people around old. Hey, but normally we look for places that don't usually have many people. So it was very much we see our ideas. If we need permission, we'll ask for permission. If not, we'll just go and do it anyway.
liking it, man. So I mean, have you got any plans to sort of do a follow up to that, or kind of make it a bigger project, or was that just left in the as a piece of history?
Somewhere down the line, when we actually have the time, I'm pretty sure we're planning on doing a sequel. But we've got so much else going on right now. It's kind of, the idea is there, and we're going to get back on it at some point when we have more time. There's always so much we can do.
Okay. And another avenue that I was kind of really fascinated in, and I don't know how seriously you've gone down this. I mean, you mentioned that you have a love for sword fighting. Now, I don't know whether you actually meant as in just as in role, with what you're doing as a role, or is that something you actually gone into? When have you gone down the fencing line and actually taking it to quite a level, or is that just a love and a passion you just do on this as a side?
It's not as a love and a passion I've done on the side. I'm definitely looking into like getting proper lessons and all that, and seeing hey, if I'm any good at that, maybe doing competitive stuff. But right now, it's definitely just a a love for picking up a sword and being able to fight with it. So I've learned the different styles and that, and it's getting there. It's always about learning. There's so much you can still learn in today's world.
That's I mean that fascinating an aspect, obviously, because your character of Mordred, he's obviously at some points in the story he's carrying a sword. Now, what kind of sword was he carrying? Then were these heavy claymore type swords, or was he carrying a lighter sort of, agile sword? What kind of sword would Mordred be carrying?
He'd be carrying something like a steel broadsword, which is quite heavy in itself. I mean, I just picked up one of my friends' one. I can feel the difference in weight compared to other swords, and it's definitely something you're going to have to get used to. So I'm going to get a hold of my own one so I can actually practice and make it like fluid, so it looks perfect in my hand. Actually, you can guess. Yeah.
So I mean, you mentioned there. I mean, for most people, most of us haven't picked up a sword since we were kids and with sticks. So I mean, you mentioned then the weight difference. What are we talking? What kind of what is the weight difference between the normal what you've been done before, and is it significantly heavier, and how does that affect your actual use of it? I mean, does it mean you've got to go from one hand to two hands, and sort of give some of that technical? You mentioned there it was just obviously a lot more weight in it, how it acted on it, but again, that's something that for most of us we never even picked up a sword. So please expand on that more.
Technically, because depending on what kind of sword it is, some take one hand, and some will require you to use both hands to be able to accurately use it. I mean, it's very interesting. It's like you think, oh, I could just pick up that. No, it's a bit heavier. You got to get used to how will make it easier for you to use it.
Okay, so we go. I mean, is it quite historically accurate? That's sort of like a big heavy broadsword would have been the kind of sword he would actually be using, or is that just because it looks aesthetically pleasing?
We try to get things as accurate to the time period, but for that, I think in the broadswords and that do look the kind of period that we're doing. But wherever possible, we want to get things accurate to the period. I mean, even we had a lovely composer come in to do the soundtrack for that. He went out of his way to go and find instruments that would have been used in that period.
Wow.
And yeah.
So, I mean, I'm. It's one of the things you're there playing the character of Mordred. You mentioned it's obviously kind of consuming your mind at the moment. I look back and it's hard for me to comprehend, especially just giving that description of the sword. That's a day-to-day life. This is a guy waking up, and at some point he's got to walk around with this sword, and then you just put yourself into their daily realities of. Even the small things. I mean, I think it's one of the things that we're so in our culture, we're so far separated from. I mean, of going out and actually killing human beings on a battlefield, and that was daily existence for this guy. I mean, that's what we know about the guy. I mean, and then you think how the skills and the effort. I mean, you've just portrayed to me then a big heavy sword. So that's a lot of training that's going to be done, and that's just used, like I say, when you think about it, for just blunting human beings off which he would have been hand to hand. I mean, I don't know if these are the kind of things that obviously when you're in that the mindset of Mordred, do these thoughts consume you about the day-to-day existence of it? Not maybe the lines, but what does he do when he's not on a day-to-day level? What does he do when he's not fighting? What does he do? Sit around? Is that how in depth you go, or does it just or do you have to think, well, I can't go too much like that, it's going to drive me mad, and I'll just go down a countless rabbit holes, and then I'll end up just being a guy sat on a park bench and I'm Mordred. I don't know. I mean,
I try not to head down the whole rabbit hole, but I'm pretty sure at some point when I'm 80 odd or really old. I'm going to be sat on some old bit and talking about French revolutions, talking about the good old days of Camelot. And that's just because I'm an actor. I love getting into the mindset of every single character I get into. I want to put myself in that, and therefore I get stuck in that personality. It's really fascinating. I think, well, what's Mordred going to do with his spare time? He's probably gone through this. What is he going to do? Oh, he'll probably decide, I'm going to the tavern. I'm going to have some mead or something like that.
Yeah. Or exactly. And I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, that was the point I was trying to get. I mean, with the brawn, the sword you're depicting. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. Do you mean would that need like a martial art, a constant daily discipline? I have to learn and keep this fluid motion, or is it just because it's so big? It's just you go out there with brute force and you just hack away. I'm just trying to say, because if it was an art form, then you can almost see Mordred as a different sort of character, as much as you would see like an Aikido expert who he knows all the moves, so his whole life is disciplined around the sword. But if it's just a brutal weapon and he just picks it up and, like you say, it more leads to he'll be down the local tavern having a mead and doing all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I'm really focusing on that point because I think it's a tangible thing we have for the past is the actual equipment he used, and that equipment may or may have not shaped to how he would have been as a person.
For Mordred, I mean, he was always a warrior. So I imagine he would spend as much time as he probably could honing his skills so he can be the best at whatever it is he's doing. I mean, he could have been a scholar, he could have done all but he wanted to be a warrior. So I imagine he would have spent as much time in the training yard training to make himself that much better.
Yeah, I think you're right, my friend. I think you're absolutely right because, as you said, I mean, especially as the situation he's got forces all around him who are basically out to get him. I mean, again, give an overview to anyone maybe listening about the forces that are aligning against Mordred as a character by the time you get to play him in the film.
Oh, by the time I get to play him in the film, he's growing up thinking, well, this pendragon is his father, but his father's an evil person. At that same time, the person he's supposed to trust, who he thinks is his mother, is basically just using him as a pawn in her game to get back her brother, which is King Arthur. So either way, it's always seems like he's stuck in the middle of someone else's battle. Someone else is using him for one thing or another, and eventually he's gonna snap, as you do when you're being pushed into something you don't want to be a part of by forces you can't help. He's bound to, anyone would eventually just be like, no, this is what I'm doing. I've had enough of taking this or that.
I mean, what would you hope that after someone's gone away and watched the film, what would you hope that there'd be there? They would, maybe if you asked them before they went into the film and came out, what would be your hope that they would go, oh wow, that's something that has fundamentally changed how I've seen this person. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, as we know, and particularly us in it, around England and stuff, we have this, like you said, and you almost like you're attacking a very sacred ghost in King Arthur, man. I mean, he's seen, particularly as this, like you say, this white shiny. He's all, even as you know, it bleeds into the whole Tolkien stories and the white, and he's seen as this ultimate British hero, and you're basically saying, well, actually, and you're poking away at that. So what would you really hope? I mean, would you hope that people come away and that fundamentally change their view on Arthur as much as they do with Mordred? I mean, is that the whole of the angle as well, to sort of give people a different perspective on Arthur as a character?
I'm thinking I'd love it for people to watch this and be able to go away and be like, well, I didn't know that. I didn't think about that side. I'd maybe give them a passion for learning more about history, more looking more into the details from both sides of a story, make them more informed and be like, well, I never knew that. I have now got an interest in something I thought I never really had that much interest in before. Something like, hey, this is actually history. Oh, this is real life history. Maybe it may not have been real as per se, but they can think of it in their minds. This could have actually happened. I need to actually look through the tales. I want to look through all the tales and actually make my own judgment based on that.
Well, this goes back to what we were just previously discussing, because when people, I'm the same way. I think one of the I recommend to everybody, and as much as myself, I try to say to myself every day, try to learn as much and discover more, because the more you ask questions, the more you start to delve into stuff, you start to realize that a lot of these things, I mean, this is where it bleeds in, a lot of these things, you know, man, back then there was no such thing as governments and states and stuff like that. We were under a whole different structure in society. You know, it was all very much tribes and people living very much freely. You could leave one tribe, and you know, like you said, Rich, the more people understand about history from their own perspective, and like I'm sure you concur with me, people really need to understand that. I always say to people, look at things through your own eyes. Don't just accept what some book has told you. Go out and try to see and put that piece of information on a seat of reason and go, oh, actually, is that really just a perspective? And try to do as much research as you possibly can. Because as you said, Rich, this is the essence of what our time on this short time we got on this rock, is to understand and try to gain the richness. Because what we do understand, and I don't know how you feel about this, but
Yeah.
I think the more you do delve into history, you realize, like, wow, we have been lied to for so long, so long by so few people. There's these few people that through religion, through the Bible and all sorts, have just been able to just rewrite history, man.
Exactly. I totally get that. I mean, people need to actually find the truth themselves. No one's going to say, this is the truth. We're going to tell you what the truth is. We're getting to the age where people need to find it out themselves. And if they get that passion to do that, then it's all for the good, really.
Yeah, man. I mean, I 100%. And it's you know, it's like you said, we're trying to say earlier on, the more people that are doing, you know, into the arts and all that and supporting the arts, the less people that are feeding that war machine, and that can never be a bad thing, man. And you know,
Exactly.
I mean, as we know, so we've got Mordred coming out, you know, hopefully sort of later this year and stuff like that. Is there any other projects? I mean, I know you sort of mentioned it's going to be consuming your time and stuff like that. Have you got any other projects, but you know, on the boil at the moment? You
Well, at some point, we are going to get started also with funding for our latest web series. Right now, we're focusing on the Mordred because, well, it's got so much going for it, so much buzz is going through everyone involved. But somewhere down the line, we will be working on a Les Mis web series. There's always something new to come along. I love the acting because there's always something new I can sink my teeth into.
Yeah, man, and again, one of the things that we were, you know, we have a very sort of common shared passion in his music, and anyone who sort of does who would know you as a person, will know you have a very deep passion for music, man. I mean, you can just be witnessed by going to any of your social media accounts. You is that something that you have any desire to sort of go into actually sort of make some music, or is that just something you just have an enjoyment for listening to and being the observer, or is that something you, like I say, is that something you would love to go into, or have you done it previously? Have you actually, you know, been in a band or any of that sort of experience?
Mainly, I've been a server and an enjoyer of music. I just think I need music every day. It's just something I need to get me through the day, because it's always really there in part of me. Yeah, if it comes along and I can learn a skill like playing the drums, playing the guitar, maybe make some music, I will not say no to that. It would be another string to my bow in a way, and something that I would be passionate about. I want to do stuff that gives me passion.
Well, again, I mean, it's the overlap, isn't it? Really, I mean, one of the sort of our passions. I mean, a lot of the music we kind of me and you particularly love is very kind of guitar based, doomy kind of, you know, heavier kind of stuff. And I've always, and I think the connection is that a lot of that music dwells around the same sort of issues that you're dealing with, Mordred. And that's why I always sort of think. I mean, I think it's very true. If Mordred had been around, you know, now he would be listening to his playlist would be exactly the same as our playlist, man. He would not be listening to, you know, Justin Bieber. That's the point I'm trying to make. And I think there's a very deep connection between sort of heavier music, and this crops up to me over and over again. I've spoken to artists and film people and musicians, and it's all the same sort of thing, that the people who are like yourself, who kind of get stuck into history and roles and stuff. There's a very much a draw to the that kind of doomy kind of music, and I don't know. As I say, I don't know. I mean, I can ask you as a character. You probably know Mordred better than anyone else. I mean, what kind of stuff do you think Mordred would be listening to right now?
If he was here right now, he probably would be listening to stuff like Man of War and stuff like that. Man of War, let's go to all that fighting kind of metal stuff. He would just really like that, because it would resonate with what he's always been used to, war and meat.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
Would,
I'll tell you what, Rich. We're having really sort of intermittent connection problems here, and so I'll tell you what we've done. We've done an hour, and well, man, I tell you what we've done. I think we're probably best to sort of wrapping this up. But there's a couple of things I really want to sort of like finish before you sort of come on. Where can people reach out and find you? I know you can find you on Twitter, so let people know where they can find you on various social media accounts.
you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Twitter, I'm on Instagram where I post a lot of my pictures. Yeah, those are the main places I tend to go through. So yeah, feel free to get in touch and everything.
And again, and just again quickly, like we mentioned earlier on about how people can get involved in the South Devon Players and trying to fund, give you some money to get this push through. How can people, again, point people into what kind of places they can go to do that and help?
There is various little Kickstarter things. South Devon Players, Laura J has all the information. I mean, there's PayPal. You could maybe PayPal some money. I'm not all in on how all this money is coming through, but Laura J is totally on top of everything. So definitely get in contact through any of her pages, and I'm pretty sure she will give you all the information you need.
Well, as I said, Rich, before, I mean, I can't thank you enough, man, for coming on tonight. We've had some internet connections and dodgy connections, but hey, yeah. It's been absolutely absolute pleasure talking to you tonight, man. And anytime you want to, anytime you've got anything you want to, promote or anything else, man. This, you feel free. You can, this is anywhere. Anytime you want to come back on here, you feel free, man. And I definitely want to get maybe you and G, who I'm going to be speaking to in a couple of weeks' time, and maybe all of you. Around when it gets released, we'll do a big kind of get you all on, because, like I said, I think it's. I can't say enough about how much I personally, as an artist, has been absolutely blown away by the little pieces I've seen of Mordred. And I'm just dying to see the whole thing. So for me personally, I can't thank you enough. So,
It's been a pleasure.
Man, just before we do go, I mean, if if you could, anyone, if you was to wrap up this whole conversation, and in one sort of paragraph, and you wanted to sort of leave people with a passing thought, what would it be, man?
If I have to give one little message for anyone here, just keep on believing, really. Keep on believing, and you can make a change. And peace out to everyone.
Man, I couldn't say it any better. Well, for me in Scotland and all the way from Devon tonight, man, it's a great night, man, and keep it real. Life is people.
Cheers. Layers.